let's get into some DC stuff. I want to bring up this article here to talk about the Andy Muschietti situation. And get some sneakers as well, apparently. So let's talk about this. What do we got here? The two-person show. How are we doing? There we go, Luke. Thanks so much.
You're
for that.
killing it. Go,
Yeah.
Luke. Go, Roca. Go, Luke. Go, Roca. Let's see how you do when we get to my TV picks. There's a lot of movement going on.
There is. I was rehearsing that before you came on the show, so I hope I get it right. Andy Muschietti rumored off DCU's Batman film The Brave and the Bold despite James Gunn's claims. This is popping up again. The DCU's long gestating Batman The Brave and the Bold project is once again mired in uncertainty. Rumors are swirling that Andy Muschietti, director of the disastrous The Flash, may no longer be steering the first Batman outing in James Gunn's rebooted universe. Yet Gunn himself has insisted Muschietti is still attached. The latest confusion only adds to the perception that DC Studios are struggling to find steady footing as it rebuilds from the wreckage of the old DCU. The Brave and the Bold is slated to introduce the DCU's Batman and Damian Wayne as Robin, drawing inspiration from Grant Morrison's acclaimed comic book run. Muschietti was tapped to direct the new Batman back in 2023 alongside producer Barbara Muschietti, but progress has been anything but clear. Recently, Muschietti admitted in interviews that he hasn't spoken with James Gunn in over a year, even though he was at the Emmys party with Jennifer Holland and other people there and Peter Safran, and that the project has been, quote, postponed a bit to make room for other films. Gunn, however, quickly countered that no such delay exists and reaffirmed that Muschietti remains attached. That's odd already. The conflicting statements have only fueled the speculation. To make matters worse, Muschietti is stacking his calendar with other projects, including a live-action Attack on Titan adaptation, which is an anime I need to be getting into, and the sci-fi thriller Drift. This hardly looks like a director laser-focused on Gotham City. Rumors from the podcast circuit. Rumors rose again when the Hot Mic podcast, that's right, our podcast with Jeff Snyder, recently claimed that Andy Muschietti is no longer directing Batman and the Brave and the Bold. During a fan Q&A, a viewer asked if Muschietti was still attached to the DCU Batman film. Host John Roca flatly responded, "I told you he's not doing it. Why don't you listen?" It was more playful, but yes. Co-host Jeff Snyder said sarcastically, he added, "I don't know what you're talking about. This is surely not something John and I have been saying for 2 years now." However, Gunn has stated in the past that Muschietti remains attached. The director had also recently been at the Superman premiere and was seen at the Emmys, as I said, with DC Studios co-head Peter Safran. Still, the speculation highlights the film's shaky status. The Brave and the Bold currently has no release date, no pre-production timeline, and reports suggest that Gunn has been unhappy with the current draft of the script. So there you go, Roxy. An interesting situation for sure. What was it? It was the two shot. All right.
John,
yeah,
you've never said anything flatly in your whole life.
Maybe in the morning when I wake up, but yes.
That's how I know that Park Place was not paying attention. Host John Roca flatly responded, "Never." Flatly. That's my biggest problem with this article.
Well, I don't know why this is popping up again off of fan Q&A. Maybe it's a slow news day, but we've been saying this, as Jeff said, for 2 years, Roxy. So,
okay, but talk me through this, and forgive me for not knowing the timeline of your show of when you guys did this. So how long have you been speculating this? When did Snyder actually say that this was happening? When is this from then?
Okay, so I'm the one who said it on the show in 2023 because of context that I have at Warner Brothers.
Okay.
And it was made very clear to me that he is not coming back because of the debacle of The Flash. It was so bad. Like if the film had been kind of warmly received but didn't do well at the box, like Thunderbolts, right? Like Jake Schreier got to do X-Men because Thunderbolts didn't do well at the box office, but the film itself was received well by the people who went to see it. That wasn't the case with Flash, and I think Gunn as he said after Superman was successful, that it was a relief. I think Gunn knew there was a lot of pressure on him, and the last thing you want to do is bring someone in who delivered a film that a lot of people didn't like and didn't do well at the box office to take on your Batman, which is a pillar of the DC brand. So what the person said to me was very clearly that Muschietti's not coming back. They're going to slow roll him off the project. So it's not going to be an immediate announcement, but he's basically not coming back. And everything since has made it really clear that he's not involved in no matter what James Gunn says. The fact that Peter Safran was saying, well, we're going to do the script, and when we're ready, then we'll present it to, and it just makes it very clear that they're going on a separate path and they're trying to save face with like Andy Muschietti. They're trying to brand save Andy Muschietti to a degree. So.
What's crazy is that it's fall already. It's coming. And I got 2 kids. the back to school rush, it's already here. We're getting the early morning drop offs, the after school activities, the soccer games, and the last minute supply runs. Don't forget about the extra trips for groceries, gas. The days get busier, and it all adds up. It adds up fast. Get that free Upside app. There's an easy way to earn real cash back every time you fill up your tank, grab a bite to eat, stop on essentials. Whether you're driving across town for the soccer games or picking up snacks for the school lunchbox, Upside helps you keep more in your pocket. In fact, Top Upside has given back $1 billion to its users. $1 billion. The free Upside app, it gets you cash back on daily essentials, whether it's gas, groceries, and dining. And yes, if you're asking, it's real cash back. There's no confusing rewards, points, credits, just money. And you can transfer it straight to your bank account. Next, claim an offer for what you're buying on Upside. Then pay, as usual, with a credit or debit card. Follow the steps in the app, get paid. So I'm using this. I heard about it, especially everything I mentioned with the soccer games, the back to school rush, all that, that's me. And since I learned about this thing, it has been so beneficial. It fits in so easy to my wife's schedule, to my schedule. Upside has given back $1 billion to its users. To find out how much you can earn, you got to download the free Upside app. You got to use that promo code Christian. You get an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas. An extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas. Using that promo code Christian. I love hearing about stuff like this. I'm so happy that I have discovered Upside, and you will be too.
This report stating that they weren't happy with the current draft. Did you hear anything about that?
Yes, that was something that was an initial issue for sure of how they were approaching Brave and the Bold. But I think this is all stuff there's like, even over the weekend, James Gunn was on with the Ringer, and he was asked about Batman. And he said, I've got a number of people in mind for it, but we're nowhere near the casting phase yet. I've had talks with people, even said he talked to a really big movie star about playing Batman recently. He's not sure that that's the way they're going to go, but they're going to have to audition and screen test. So in where he's presenting things, he is still going forward with the Brave and the Bold. I think Superman's success has given him more cachet to push back on Zaslav or anybody else who might be wanting to move Pattinson's Batman into his universe. But the script, he wants the script to be right. And he's been saying this over and over again. But I think the script excuse gives them a convenient shield to go and find who they want to direct the movie and who they want to be in Batman. That's
so
what
is your belief at this point that they don't have a Batman cast, that they don't have a director for this movie, and that they don't have a script for this movie?
I would amend your statement to say they don't have a script that they 100% like.
But they don't have a director or an actor for this.
Yeah, I don't think they do at all right now. What do you hear, though? Because you're plugged into DC yourself. I know with DC Movie News and in the past and all the stuff you guys do with DC. So what do you hear?
Well, I wanted to also talk about the reception of The Flash because it does have a 63% fresh on the tomato meter, and it does an 81% popcorn meter. So it was not slammed. It just wasn't loved.
Right.
Thunderbolt seemingly was more loved by critics. I don't actually know the score that it had, but I assume it was a lot higher than that.
Yeah.
So it is kind of interesting because I think that Andy Muschietti is in pretty decent standing right now to be a studio director. I don't think anybody's out here thinking Andy Muschietti should not be directing large studio movies. I think that he is at that caliber where he definitely can take something like Brave and the Bold under his belt. And I like him a lot. And I think that he would do a good job. Tend to believe that where there's smoke, there's fire. I think that they have cast Batman.
Oh,
and I think that a lot of this has to do with the surroundings of knowing who their Batman is and now what works with that Batman.
Wow.
That's a theory.
That's
a theory. That's my theory.
Do you think, because I don't like this idea, but do you think, going on your theory, that we are going to see that Batman in the Clayface movie in a cameo?
A lot of people think like at the very end, and I do think that's possible. It's not how I personally would introduce Batman. I don't think that's the smartest way to go about it, but do I think that it is possible they will do that? I think it's possible. I would put it at like 20%, which is not unlikely. That's 20% is kind of a large percentage for that. I think that there's a 1 in 5 chance that we might get our Batman then. But I more think that the way that it seems like Gunn and Safran have been going about things, but specifically Gunn, is knowing their players, making the world. Know their players, make the world.
Yeah.
So I think that that's what's happened here. And I think with the casting of Batman, they are designing a world around him.
So then let me push back a little bit and ask you this. I mean, Gunn is out here over the weekend with the Ringer saying we haven't even cast anyone. And I know, and other people know, Jeff and I are on Gunn sometimes because he says one thing and it's not the truth. And he then backtracks or changes or, all this kind of stuff. So if you're saying you think they've already cast their Batman,
I do.
Then why is he out here saying all of this stuff that they haven't even screen tested anybody, that they've got ideas, but they haven't?
I mean, it's just a theory, but I also there's a couple things on that. I think it's a totally fair question.
Yeah.
I don't feel the same way that you or Jeff or Mikey Christmas do feel, which is that we are being lied to when reporters ask questions and we are given false information. Okay. I think that's totally fine. I don't feel like that's me being lied to because I think it's part of the game here. Like technically speaking, of course, if you answer or if somebody asks an actor, are you going to be in Avengers Endgame? And you say no, and then you are, I guess that was a lie. But I don't feel lied to. I don't feel lied to because I feel like it's part of your job to not give me that information in that moment. And it's part of the fun of guessing and figuring out. And I think that if they were ready to present to us, here is who our this is, here's who our Batman is, here's who's our director, here's what's going on, then they would, but they're not ready. So instead they say, we don't know yet. We don't know. So I have no issues with that being kind of the way that the industry is. I'm not saying that you guys do feel entitled because that's not the sense that I get at all, but I feel zero entitlement towards knowing information about a project at all. So like they tell us when they tell us, and if until then they say they don't know, I couldn't care less. It just doesn't bother me. And it makes it a little more exciting sometimes to not know some of these things because I have said this from day one. I think that they should be casting Brendan Sklenar. I think that he's a perfect Batman. I think that they actually ultimately will cast him if they haven't already. Because I think that he is, his name is just popping up in such a way that like I'm reading the tea leaves on articles and in things where as opposed to like, who are some of the other, like Alan Richardson's name kept popping up, and it just it doesn't seem realistic that that's what they're doing. So that's what I think is happening. And I don't mind if he's out here saying, we don't know, because they don't have the full story yet. And also something that we've been really on executives about for a long time is not giving us information and then taking it back. And just because you've cast somebody doesn't mean you dotted your I's and crossed your T's. So maybe they're still in negotiations. Maybe it is a tactic. Maybe it is like, this is the direction we think we're going in. But the last thing they want to do is say, Muschietti's actually not our director. Here's our director. And then that falls through. And then they're like, okay, actually, that's not our director, but this is our actor. And then that falls through. And they're like, well, actually, now this is the thing, because that's what happened with The Flash.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened with The Flash. We got 4 different directors and 5 different scripts. And it was an absolute nightmare. So I'm sure they're now like, let's wait till make an announcement until all of the pieces are in place. Here's the person directing it. Here's the star of the movie. Here's what we're doing with Bold and Beautiful script. Like, that's
okay. So I think this is, I think it's all valid in terms of like perspective, right? Yeah, you're the kind of person like, I know this is the game, and so I don't take it personal, right?
Well, and by the way, Bold and the Brave, I just replayed what I said in my head. And I called it a soap opera. Don't come for me, guys. I've been watching a lot of soaps recently.
This afternoon, all the Bold and the Brave.
I can't believe you didn't correct me on that just now. I was like, what did I just say? The Bold and the Beautiful, Andy Muschietti drops out. Hot take.
When the raspy queen talks, I just listen. That's just the way it works.
Continue. I did not mean to interrupt you. I just had to correct myself before they did.
I'm just saying that I think your perspective, people have that perspective, and I totally respect that. Like, they don't take it personal. They know it's the game and what have you. In fact, I've had a couple of people who are junior executives at studios who are friends of mine. I over the last 20 years in Hollywood became friends with them as they were like assistants or whatever. They will occasionally text me and go, you're so ridiculous on the hot mic because you call these people out in this way. You know the game. And I'm like, yeah, but to me, I think there's a better way to respond to it where it doesn't seem to me like you're lying.
Like
or
what?
Like saying we have some people in mind, and we're absolutely going through where we're going, but we don't want to announce anything until we've got everything lined up. And then when we lined up, we're going to announce it. And look, we're excited about it. And then there, it's you've covered the bases. But to say like we haven't even started, I think that's where it becomes a thing. And James can't help himself sometimes. He always goes that extra mile. Even the response, and I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying this is who James is. When he went that extra mile this weekend by saying like there's even a really big Hollywood actor we're talking to, but we don't know if that's going to happen. It's like, why say that? Like, why just say we got a lot of people in mind? But to make that extra step is where I have sometimes some issues with Gunn. That being said, I love his movies. I think he's a really cool guy.
I think you and Jeff feed each other's fuel when it comes to Gunn. I think it's hysterical that some of your friends text you, because if they have an issue with how you've handled it, oh boy, do they have things to say about what Jeff does. The amount of times I have spent on the phone calling Jeff, being like, "Why did you do that? What are you doing?" But to Jeff, I think he thinks it's funny and part of the game. You guys don't do it the same way. Like to me, everything you say is because you feel it and believe it. And to me, everything Jeff says is because he thinks it's like, oh yeah, got him. Like, which I love him. As everybody knows, I stand up for Jeff more than I stand up for anybody in my entire life. I love that man. He's an incredible friend. He is a lifelong friend for me. I love him. But when you two both started going in on Gunn, I was a little surprised with how upset you both were with how Gunn has handled the situation.
Yeah, I think it was more approach of like, I just want him to tell the truth and stop taking people for a ride on some of these comments. Because I think the thing is, if he didn't feel the need to come down and insult and say things like, oh, don't believe anybody else, it's all bullshit. Like the fact that he came out and said stuff like that, I think that's where it becomes like, come on, man. You mean
like when you report on something on the hot mic and then he says that's not true, and you're like, but I know it's true.
Well, yeah, exactly. He says, and it wasn't personal because he didn't name us, right, or name anybody really, because I'm not vain enough to think we're the only people that calls Gunn out for stuff. But like him saying, like, don't believe anybody. He's essentially saying, as a creative, don't believe any of these reporters, and he's saying it to a public that is already primed over the last few years. We know this, Roxy, to go after the media, to go after anybody in the media, to disbelieve the media. So you're feeding into that in your own little section of your world, this distrust of the media. And you're almost taking advantage of that to be like, I'm a man of the people. Don't trust the media. Only listen to me. I'll tell you the truth. And he veers into that territory, which some people have been mad when I've said that he, veers into certain territory. I'm not going to name the person, but you know who I mean, where he's like, don't listen to anybody else but me. I'm telling you the truth. And it's like, well, you really aren't, are you? You're taking us for a ride, and you're going to tell us what's happening when you want to tell us what's happening. And if people find out ahead of time, you're trying to denigrate their work as journalists who have fostered relationships and connections with people.
That is what you think he's trying to do?
Yes,
you think intentionally?
100%.
Wow.
Yes.
I don't get that sense at all.
I don't think he's a bad guy, by the way. I just think
I know you don't.
He plays the game.
I just think putting myself in his shoes, which would be very fancy, expensive, nice shoes, comfortable to wear. I probably can't even imagine the shoes. But
and
just putting myself,
wife. Yes,
exactly. Putting myself in his shoes for a second, though, how annoying to have people reveal things about your project that 100%. You don't want out there. Like, and I'm not saying that anybody handles that perfectly, but if I were him, at some point I'd just be like, everybody shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Well, I'll tell you what I want to tell you. So like respect to, I have so much respect for journalists, and it is literally their job to get, for lack of better words, the tea, like what is going on. But for him, who's probably like, I'm trying to run an entire universe, and there is so many moving parts, and I have fired a lot of people and hired a lot of people, and every day I open the news and somebody's saying another thing, and some of them are true, but some of them are not.
Yeah,
it probably is just like, don't listen to everything you. And I think he really isn't trying to diminish or belittle. I don't know him personally, so maybe he is, but my sense is that he isn't, and he's just trying to protect the integrity of his decisions and this world.
Right. And I totally get that. I just think there's a better way to do that where you don't accuse them of being liars or accuse them of not telling people the truth, because a lot of the things that, like, I know people come for Jeff, but a lot of things Jeff broke, and one of the reasons I stand by Jeff and his credibility is a lot of things Jeff broke, they came true.
I know.
And that's the thing. People come, and I listen, I host a show with him, Roxy, so I get a lot of crap from people who are in the industry, who are my friends, who I know still in LA, high up in some studios, who text me, why the hell do you still do a show with him? Why do you deal with this kind of stuff? And I go, because he does break stories that are true. If he was just a guy who was a rumor merchant, as we've seen on YouTube, some people love to rumor merchant, I would not be with a person like that. But because Jeff does, his stuff does come true. Not often. No, I'm sorry, not all the time, but it does enough for me to be like, yeah. And I've seen him work. I've seen him have lunches with agents, with managers, with casting assistants and associates, casting directors, with junior executives, with executives. I've seen that happen through his life. So that's why I defend him, because there is a lot of credibility. Now, do I like him putting up pictures of himself in pink Speedos and all this? And all, no, those are
we had a half-hour call about that, John.
That I don't. Yeah,
I had to talk to Jeff about his Speedo pic for a half an hour.
I love my crazy brother, but I don't.
I love him. I just love him. Listen, especially being here in Boston. I can't not stand up for my guy. He's my dude, but holy shit, did he make it so hard for himself?
The Lady Outlaw loves him. My mother loves Jeff.
I get it.
My mother loves Jeff. My mother, she watches all my YouTube shows, but her favorite is the Hot Mic, because she never knows how crazy Jeff is going to be.
Can't say he's not entertaining.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. And
can't say it.
Lady Outlaw, she lived in Boston for 3 years, and she's like, that guy, I know that guy. I've seen that guy around Boston all the time.
100%. It's not rare here.
Yeah.
Jeff.
Yeah.
It's crazy.